Hello everyone! Today, even in the less active sectors on the front, it's scorching hot. But let's go through everything step by step. Let's start with the Zaporizhzhia direction. Ukrainian Armed Forces are advancing here. The General Staff reports that there are not just tactical battles, but large-scale offensive operations happening. Unfortunately, as we can see, there are still no major advances. The occupiers continue to resist, and the Ukrainian Armed Forces are taking some positions in the Novoprokopivka and Verbove areas. Recently, Blinken stated that the Ukrainian counteroffensive even exceeded the expectation of Western experts. Ukrainian expert Roman Svitan provided a valuable commentary on this statement.
Наши партнеры, они думали, что без авиации мы вообще и на метр не продвинемся. А тут, получается, уже дошли до второй линии и начинаем расширять плацдарм. То есть с этой точки зрения, с таким сарказмом я, конечно, об этом говорю. Это как была бы авиация, мы бы уже были на Азовском побережье. Кстати, прекрасно об этом знает Блинкен и наши партнеры, и европейские, и американские, что это именно так. Потому мы тоже покиваем головой, тоже поудивляемся, вот какие мы тут молодцы, красавцы. Реально понесли большие потери, и в том числе в технике, ту, которую нам передали, как раз из-за того, что не было передано основное оружие для выполнения боевых задач.
Friends, and before we continue, I kindly ask you to share this video on social media and watch it until the end. It greatly helps promote my channel. Thank you. Overall, considering the circumstances, the Ukrainian Armed Forces are making progress. Moreover, they have already passed through the most challenging sections of the front. Experts report that on the second and third defense lines, there are significantly fewer minefields and Russian fortifications. This is why today we can see that the advance through the first defense line was slow throughout the summer, but now the speed of movement is expected to increase. If there are still people wondering why the Ukrainian Armed Forces are moving slowly, I suggest watching this video.
Роботине. Дивіться, як виглядає шлях від Роботине до Вербове, куди зараз прориваються Збройні Сили України. Дивіться, кожна лінія, це посадка. В кожній посадці зариті, кожну посадку треба штурмувати. Просто уявіть масштаби цієї роботи, уявіть ці масштаби.
In the Vuhledar area, the situation remains largely unchanged. The occupiers continue shelling across the entire front line. Ukrainian Armed Forces are engaged in tactical battles, but the occupiers have entrenched themselves significantly. Reports indicate that presence of extensive underground tunnels used by the Russians, in addition to regular trenches. All these fortifications complicate the advancement of our troops. However, as mentioned earlier, the primary goal for the Ukrainian Armed Forces is to break through the first defense line. Beyond that, the situation is expected to improve somewhat and progress will be a bit faster. Creating new fortifications like those on the first defense line will require the Russians a considerable amount of time, manpower, and even equipment. Today, they are facing challenges in this regard. Hence, after the elections, they plan to conduct a large-scale mobilization of over 200,000 individuals. Probably that's why a woman in St. Petersburg decided to set fire on another military commissariat and threw stones at the windows, recording it all on video. Overall, this situation is only going to escalate further. In the Kherson direction, beside the ongoing artillery exchanges along the entire front line, the Ukrainian Armed Forces have successfully destroyed Russian military equipment in the port on the occupied territory as seen in the photos. In the Kupiansk direction, activity is increasing not only in terms of artillery shelling. Yesterday evening, reports began to emerge from the Ukrainian Armed Forces that the occupiers are attempting to breach the defense in the Sinkivka area. During recent days, possibly due to tactical combat actions, they managed to regain their positions near Sinkivka. It appears that they are not stopping there and attempting to break through further. Meanwhile, artillery shelling continues along the entire front line. In this direction, Ukrainian border guards also raised the Ukrainian flag in the settlement of Stroykivka and Topola. These villages in the Kharkiv region are located on the border with Russia in the so-called Grey Zone. They were liberated in the fall, but no one had ventured in this territory due to their presence of mines. In the Svatovo area, the situation is more complex, as the occupiers have been attempting to capture Novogorivka for a week now. They are deploying both equipment and Storm Z units composed of prisoners and driven into the battle to their certain death, similar to what was done by the Wagner Group. However, as we can see, the front line remains unchanged over the past day, and the Ukrainian Armed Forces continue to repel all enemy attacks, even in such challenging conditions. In the Kremina and Siversk areas, unfortunately, there is no active development to report. Despite hope that the Ukrainian Armed Forces would replicate their autumn counteroffensive in the Lugansk direction, there is no reported activity at the moment. The occupiers continue to shell the front line settlements. In the Bakhmut direction, the situation remains complex. The occupiers persistently send their units into attacks, while the Ukrainian Armed Forces consistently destroy them. Consequently, the front line has remained unchanged for some time, despite ongoing offensive actions. Today, attacks are ongoing on the northern flank. However, this time the occupiers are not advancing towards Zelezhnyansk because they faced a complete failure there. Instead, they are moving towards Orekhovo-Vasilivka. It should be noted that they are advancing quite far from the extreme front line, but the Ukrainian Armed Forces are successfully eliminating them, and there are no changes for now. To the south, in Klishchiivka, the battles for the village continue, with the occupiers reinforcing and intensifying their shelling of the territory. Thus, there are no improvements in this area for now. In the Avdiivka direction, the occupiers continue their attempts to approach the outskirts of the city. They have made such attempts multiple times, but the Ukrainian Armed Forces prevent them from establishing a foothold and successfully repelled their groupings. We are waiting to see how this latest attack will conclude. To the south, in Marinka, fighting is ongoing, but the Russians haven't achieved significant success. Even in their own reports, they acknowledge that they have had no success in this direction. However, the Russians are increasingly calling for the complete destruction of Avdiivka. Overall, things in Russia are not going very well. This is why a group of smugglers was purchasing and repairing components for military aircraft and helicopters in Russia and illegally exporting them to Europe, including for the needs of the armed forces of Ukraine. The group included individuals from Ukraine and one of the countries in Central Asia. They were procuring and repairing units and components of combat aircraft and helicopters in Russia with the intention of subsequently illegally exporting them for the benefit of foreign customers, including for the needs of the armed forces of Ukraine. FSB officers in Russia confiscated over 100 products for combat aircraft, $170,000 and 59,000 euros, the State Border Guard Service stated. The security agency also obtained documents proving the group's involvement in organization, repair and restoration work on components for Ukrainian military aircraft and helicopters. Law enforcement agencies have opened a case under Part 3 of Article 30 and Part 3 of Article 226.1 of the Russian Criminal Code, smuggling of other military equipment committed by an organized group. The maximum penalty under this article is imprisonment for a term of 7 to 12 years. Okay, meanwhile, the Russians continue to indiscriminately shell cities in Ukraine. On the morning of September 8th, as a result of a strike on Sumy, significant damage was inflicted on the residential sector of peaceful communities. Rescue teams arrived at the scene promptly. According to preliminary information, a two-story residential building was destroyed, over 20 houses and 8 vehicles were damaged, and a fire broke out over a substantial area. 2 individuals were trapped under the debris and were rescued by the rescue teams, a man and a woman. Additionally, there is some good news, and the police managed to save a dog at the Sumy incident site, which is a positive note amidst this tragedy. In Kryvyi Rih, there was also a strike in the city center. One of the police administrative buildings was destroyed due to the Russian strike, resulting in the death of a police officer. 3 firefighters from the State Emergency Service were rescued from the rubble and are in critical condition. 6 employees sustained injuries of varying degrees of severity. Emergency services are on the scene, extinguishing a fire covering an area of 200 square meters. Nearby residential buildings were also affected, and the police are conducting apartment-by-apartment checks to assess the residents' condition. Rescue operations are ongoing. As we can see, the crimes committed by Russia are becoming increasingly horrifying with each passing day. As of the morning of September 8, 2023, according to official information from juvenile prosecutors, 503 children have died and over 1,120 have been injured to varying degrees since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. However, this is not enough evidence for the United Nations. The Independent International Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine hasn't yet received sufficient evidence to qualify the actions of Russian military personnel as genocide, according to Eric Messer, the Commission's chairman, during a press conference in Kyiv. We are well aware of the concerns and allegations regarding this crime. That is why we are investigating this issue step by step. At the moment, we don't have sufficient evidence to meet the legal qualifications set out in the Genocide Convention, he said. Messer reminded that for genocide to be recognized, it's necessary to prove the intent of the preparations to destroy a particular group of people. The destruction must be physical or biological. These are strict conditions conferred by judicial practice, explained the UN expert. What they were thinking when they made this decision, I don't know. And how do you feel about this decision? Please share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all from me. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Bye bye.